Hello, everyone. This was a good week of chapters with a lot of character motivations being revealed, as well as some good progression on just about every story and chapter this week. Bit of an odd week as the chapters came out on Monday for us instead of Sunday, but it doesn't affect anything too much. So we'll be starting off with Undead Unluck chapter 119, and this was a good chapter showing what Billy's motivations were and why he betrayed the Union, even though he's still very much in line with what their goals are. We find out what his negator power is as well, seeing as how it's unfair and not some other power that was previously sort of speculated. And the way that his power works is that if a person hates him and perceives him as a threat, he will be able to use their ability. And that's why he was able to use everyone's abilities upon first betraying everyone. That's why it looked like he was so powerful, because everyone thought of him as a villain and an enemy at that moment of betrayal, except for Titania and Fuko. They just never did, and that's when his plan fell apart, because he couldn't get the two of them, namely Fuko, to think of him as a villain. And so once realizing that his plan wasn't going to work, which was that he wanted to take on everyone's quote-unquote problems and to deal with God by himself, take on the burden of everyone. It didn't end up working, as he said, mainly because Fuko just wouldn't see him as a villain, and so he then decided to put all of his eggs into the Fuko basket and just trust that she will be able to achieve victory where no one else has been able to thus far. So the battle between Billy and Unruin ends up being a bit more one-sided in the side of Unruin, namely because he's lost, quote-unquote, a lot of his powers, because Andy is not seeing him as a villain anymore, and many others. So he calls up some of the other characters, Top and Chikara, and tells them a lie to make him seem like a villain so he can use their powers. That was an interesting way to reveal that, as well as us just learning overall what his powers and abilities and motivations are. Was a really good way to put a bow onto what his character is. Again, as he even said, he wasn't even very believable as his villain self, mostly because a lot of it would be contradictory to what he had been doing before then. But now with what he had said here, it makes sense on why he did what he did. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good, especially getting the Billy reveal of both his powers and motivation, as well as the fighting itself was pretty good, seeing that Billy was able to more or less stall on Ruin, and I wonder if they're going to be able to get away with the help of Billy. So we'll have to see how the next few chapters go, as it feels like it's ramping up towards the moment that Fuko gets pushed into the new timeline. So now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 116, and this was a good chapter showing that Finn indeed won against the two guards in the last chapter, as it sort of seemed that he did, and he was able to open the gate to allow the other characters here, the Divine Visionaries, to make it through. They enter the castle and find a field of flowers, which are actually insects, they're bugs, which ends up knocking Lance out pretty much because he can't handle bugs or ghosts. It was bugs and ghosts he couldn't handle, which was actually fairly funny, and each of them paired up into two and fled the room, and this caused each of them to find a different child of Innocent Zero, with Lance and Dot to find the Pudding brother, the third brother, so that's not good for them, as I don't even know what his magic is. He's just weird. We then had, I believe, the sword or spear brother, halberds, I don't quite remember, pole arms, it's whatever it could be. It's weapon-based magic. Fourth child of Innocent Zero. We'll be versing Rain and Finn. That should be pretty interesting to see if their relationship can be mended, as it's revealed that Finn and Rain don't have a good relationship. We see that Order is going to be versing the Clown, which should be one hell of a battle, as the both of them are both insane, so that should be pretty interesting, which would leave Ryo up against Doom. That should be fun as well, to see just how powerful Ryo is compared to the other strong Divine Visionaries that we've seen thus far. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing everyone get their matchup that they're going to have, 2-on-1, leaving it a little bit, not necessarily in the favor of the good guys, but it's always perceived that 2-on-1 would lead to someone's advantage, but that's just how powerful villains are. We also got to see that Lemon has made her triumphant reveal to try to save Mash as the little gremlin apprentice of Melodol, and he's not very thrilled to see Lemon, but Lemon is there to help in whatever way she can. So that was fun anyway, seeing that Lemon is now being used in this arc, and seeing how these matchups are going to be very interesting to see who ends up winning and or losing in these moments. I expect Dot and Lance to struggle mightily but somehow pull out the win. Finn and Rain should be an interesting one, because I'm expecting it to mostly be Rain, but you'd never know. Order and the Clown should be probably the most interesting fight, as I think they're probably the most evenly matched of any of them, but you'd never know how this story is going to go. And Doom and Ryo probably shouldn't be very close, just seeing how strong Doom is, but we'll end up seeing. We'll also see how long it takes for Mash to recover before he ends up saving the day for everyone. So the next few chapters should be pretty fun. Now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 79, and this was a good chapter, showing more of the former Order member being just sinister and extremely powerful. Some more of the trio of current Order members trying to figure out what they're going to do with that said former Order member, seeing as how Shishibi had a similar relationship with the former Order member that he does now with Osaragi, and we just see them hanging out while preparing for the next bit of their mission, as then we cut to Sakamoto still being in the dorm house telling the students to go to class, but the one who interrupted them says no, and we find out that particular student is a sleeper agent for Slur, communicating with the Deerhead guy, and is given the orders to go find and destroy the database. So we now have a bit of a race at the JCC to see who can win and either recover the data or destroy the data in the database, as well as to see who can win that race. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing the continued sinister nature of the former Order member, as well as somewhat of the goofy antics of the three current Order members, as well as seeing that Slur does in fact have a sleeper agent and is recruiting more of them in the school, so the race to get to the database is starting to heat up. We also see that Akira is struggling at the school, getting the JCC bowl of leftover garbage. So hopefully Shin runs into her soon, and she ends up being quote-unquote recruited into the Sakamoto fold, as the invisible guy is still with Shin. So a lot of interesting stuff going on, and it should be a couple of interesting chapters to see how things are going to progress and how quickly they're going to progress. So now we're on to Mission Yozakura Family, chapter 139, and this was a good chapter showing just how strong the gold-ranked spies are, seeing as how they were able to locate several of Momo's little brothers and destroy them fairly easily, as we see the bulk of the chapter with the main character, the second oldest son, and the head editor of the spy magazine, as we see the sort of orphanage of the spy headquarters where a lot of children are trained to be spies if more or less something unfortunate happened to them, whether on a mission or their parents did not survive a mission, whatever. They are then put there if they want to be, and or if they're adopted to go somewhere else. So it was interesting to see that side of things, as well as the owner of the spy magazine is a big proponent element of this particular area, and he was able to get rid of the 2 monster creatures in this area. So that was fairly interesting, and to see how quickly everyone else dispatched of their particular problems. And it's revealed that the way that they're located and the patterns of their movements, it does not seem as though their motives align with what Momo had said, so there might be something else going on with them. So it should be interesting to see what's eventually revealed about this whole thing, but for now the spies seem very much ahead in terms of what's going on compared to Momo's side of the field. So overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good seeing just how powerful the gold ranked spies are and seeing different sides of several of them, especially the head editor and chief of the spy magazine, getting a bit more of him, as well as a bit of the second son's past, that there's a particular character that is seemingly not available anymore that him and the editor miss. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any more knowledge about that, or if it just moves on to whatever motivation is going on with the Momo side of this battle of spies. So that was all of the major chapters. Again, they were all very good, with new reveals from pretty much all of them. Undead Unluck had the motivation and power reveals of Billy. It was revealed the new matchups for Mashle, with each Innocent Zero child getting a particular pair of Divine Visionary / Divine Visionary candidates, the main characters. Sakamoto had it be revealed that a sleeper agent of Slur's is in the school and wants to work for Slur. It also makes sense why there's so much Slur influence within the school, if there's a sleeper element who is pseudo the leader of the delinquent group in the school. And we have it that Mission Yozakura family had the different reveals of different aspects of characters from the editor-in-chief and the potential unknown motivation for Momo's group of villains. So now we're on to everything else, with Jujutsu Kaisen, which was fine, My Hero, which was fine, Blue Box, which was fine, and Earthchild, which was fine. There's nothing particular about any of them that is really all that interesting. Aliens Area was good. We got to see more of the main character being very strong, having it that he defeats the villain that was trying to get rid of the princess character. We also see the main character protect said princess character, and that they're getting closer together. So the future of the series is up in the air, but there's at least some cool elements to it and some interesting elements to it that I'm intrigued to see where it goes, even if it is potentially a short-lived series. Super Smartphone was good, having it that the main character decided to risk his own life to save the fool smartphone user. He's actually caught by him, and the big guy actually finds out that he's pseudonym, the guy that the main villain is looking for. So the main character has to think fast and ends up revealing a lot of harsh truths to the big guy, that his friends more or less don't care, and that they believe he's trying to buy their friendship, which according to him, he's not. Lots of interesting things as the other character, smartphone user that's with the main villain, who's more or less obsessed with him, makes his move to try to capture Pseudonym, which is the main character, as well as get rid of the big guy. So now it's up to the main character to try to save both of their lives and escape, though this will end up leading to a bit more problems, as the cops will now pin a lot more on him instead of on the main villain. So the future of the series is interesting, as I look forward to seeing how they're going to play this up, and potentially if the main hero gets a couple of allies in the process. So that should be pretty interesting. Doron was good, as it's revealed that the traitor samurai is actually just a possessed samurai. A Mononoke who was small and weak was able to bypass their barrier because of Dora's Mononoke, the little blue guy, and was able to slip in and possess a samurai. This is the reason why he was a traitor. It was a friend of the main characters, a character we've met earlier in the story, and of course the main character was able to save said traitor character. As now the big battle is beginning, winning as the main villain group is taking on a lot of the samurai officers. So that should be an interesting battle, as we'll probably get very fast-paced ones and see just how much quote-unquote epic battling can be done in the next few chapters. P times 6 was good, seeing that the man in the mask was revealed to be the old friend of the shy sibling. And we see that the shy sibling was able to kind of figure that out relatively quickly, and once it was revealed, we get the continued backstory of the old friend, seeing as how he regretted what he had done and now wants the shy sibling to beat him so that he can end his piano career, at least being able to attempt to make an amends to the shy sibling. So it was a relatively good reveal, really tying a nice bow on that, potentially even saving the shy sibling in the process, as when he probably wins, maybe even if he loses, it doesn't matter, they might reconnect, which would be good in terms of character for the two of them, which should be fairly interesting, as I still continue to look forward to the down spiral of Lucky. So it should be pretty interesting in the next few chapters, especially with this given battle having so much connection. Then we had the elusive samurai, which I thought was very good, having it that the main archer villain had made a mad dash to go after the main character. The main character ends up fleeing the scene, and so the archer villain gives chase, and it's more or less revealed that that was his plan from the get-go, the main character, that he wanted to give one last moment with him and had more or less full faith that he would get away. And so everyone kind of let it not let it happen, but the god character wasn't as worried. And we see that their relationship had been quite strong, the archer guy and the main character, as the archer guy was the main character's measuring stick, and every time he improved, he more or less would go against him to a degree. It was good. I enjoy the archer villain as a major villain for the main character, one that continues to reoccur over and over again. He's not quite as sinister, but I think he's one of those where he'll be a quote-unquote beloved villain, the one that ends up borderline joining the good guys, but just never does. He grows very attached to them. But we'll see how this battle ends up unfolding as the main character gets the upper hand as he has to escape. But again, you even see in the last moments before he leaves that the archer villain has a reluctant respect for the main character, as the main character has immense amounts of respect for the archer villain. So a lot of good fun, a lot of good intrigue going into the next major arc as things are heating up with the main character's major reveal and now full-blown admission of going for the throne. So that was all of the chapters. They were all fairly good, and in this crop, the particular standouts were the elusive samurai and P times 6, being it that each one of those chapters tend to always be very good and always very interesting. So it looks like next week we're getting One Piece back, and from what I'm hearing, it's supposedly an incredible chapter, so I very much look forward to seeing what's going to happen there, and it looks like we're 2 weeks away from the return of Black Clover, which I'm looking very much forward to. So, looks like on the horizon things are looking good, and the next few weeks of chapters should be very good. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.